Homa, you do social work. What's, maybe you can reflect on this with us.
This is very critical because where I work with the ladies and the kids, they are really very sensitive about every little things because they are not happy. They are abused by the families or neighbors or anybody around them. So my role there is to, as I have learned from Islam in taqwa, how to not get upset on little things. So I become a role model in front of them, and I teach them to be patient. And one thing I have learned from my life is forgiving.
Yes.
Forgetting is difficult, but forgiving. So in social work, I teach them how to forgive and move on in your life. Move on in your life, and that's what Islam is all about, is just forgive. Forgive.
Have a clean heart.
Yes.
Yeah. And especially after Ramadan of 30 days, you, as Nahla mentioned, it's not just fasting, it's just tolerating. Accepting each and everybody around you. Doesn't matter, you are at workplace or a school environment, and you teach his children that you are fasting. A 10-year-old or a 13-year-old is fasting, and in the school it's not that he or she cannot eat or drink, and he or she has to tell them, I cannot fight, I am fasting today.
Yes.
So it's
and that's the thing, because people usually when they're fasting they get impatient, and yet as Muslims it teaches us to have to be patient. But the issue is, I feel, and we've mentioned that before, that we have contributed individually, but we have to, how do we contribute as a community? Do you have some thoughts there, Khalid?
I do, but just on the thought that I just heard, you know what? It's also, when as I said originally, that you should do it by example, because that's Islamic spirit. But keeping that in mind, it is also that we must be proud of ourselves.
Yes.
Never, for example, this whole month of Ramadan, I had official meetings in the town of Markham.
Yes.
And they were having lunch. I was sitting there. Wasn't that it? I mean, they all realized that I'm fasting. So it was, they realized and they saw. So it wasn't that I would hide or something, that hey, so that nobody knows. And they actually appreciate, because, and I feel proud to say that being a Muslim, practicing Muslim, I deal with all kinds of religion. And you know what? Haqukul Allah and Haqukul Ibad is what we were talking about. The 5 pillars of Islam is Haqukul Allah, meaning between you and your God.
Yes.
Haqukul Ibad is between you and humanity.
Yes.
And God has said, if you do anything wrong to your fellow human being, I won't forgive you. So that should set a standard, that how important it is in Islam that you do not do anything wrong to a fellow human being. It doesn't say it's a Muslim, it says fellow human being. And that's what Islamic spirit is.
Well, there's a lot more to discuss. Please don't go away. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Spirit of Islam. We're discussing Muslims and how to contribute to this wonderful society we live in. And one of the thoughts I have is the politics and being involved in the political scene, whether at the local level or the provincial or the federal. And as Muslims, you find different opinions. And it's sad that we find some people who say you should not be involved, you should not vote. And of course, that's totally wrong. We live in this country. It's very important to participate and be part of the scene. And that's where I'd like to go to you, Khalid, and tell us about your experience in politics and what would you advise young people to be involved and to be part of it?
Well, I like your lines, the way you just started. You know what? If you really want to, and it's like in your own corporation, for example, if you want to make anything happen, you got to be involved.
Yes.
You want to make any decisions, you want to make any changes, you got to be involved.
Yes.
So you cannot sit outside, and if you say something, you'll be looked at as if you are criticizing.
Yes.
But you are not criticizing, you want to make effective change.
Yes.
Well, then you get involved. And this is the thing that I am always telling my young friends, the youths, that look, we are doing it, I am setting an example, I am actually creating something for you, because you are the future. But it won't happen unless you participate very actively. It's like saying, get into the tent. Once you get into the tent, then you can. But if I was to stand outside and criticize and say, oh, this is not happening, that's like complaining.
Yes.
Now, the best thing that I advise my friends is come in there. There's so many different ways of doing it. in politics, if you don't know, not everybody has to run as a candidate. I mean, there's so many opportunities. You can come and help a campaign. You can help them financially. You can volunteer. You can volunteer in the hospitals. You can volunteer in social services. You can, but one of the biggest thing that I find, Muslim brothers and sisters, they don't have time. And you know what? And when you don't have time, well, then don't complain.
Well, they don't make the time. We all have the time. It's a matter of priority. And maybe we have not realized yet this is an important priority for us to be part of, as you said, the decision making.
Well, exactly. And you know what? Ever since I know this, that when I came on council, from that day to today, it's been 9 years as a councillor.
Yeah.
And I know how many changes have been made. For example, the first thing I could tell you, that on a day like Eid, on a day like 1st of Muharram, officially no business can be conducted in Markham because they're respecting that day. Now, why did it happen? It happened because I am part of it. I am sitting there. They won't do it for the Jewish New Year either, or the, you know, because we are there. We are saying, hey, respect the religion, and this is how. And this is in Markham. I am sure if most of us were involved, but you know what? Nobody would help you if you do not get involved. Same thing. There are a lot of situations in foreign policy, in economic policy, in every which way that affect us as Muslims, or wherever you come from. But you can only make a difference when you are part of a campaign, when you are part of a team, when you are part of politics. Because as I said, there are so many different ways. I encourage my younger brothers and sisters, especially sisters.
Why?
Well, you know why? Because, as you said, they are so involved in their own little things, and they don't think that it is important to participate, not only in politics, but also, as I said, in so many volunteer services. You will not find, I'll tell you, and you would know this, executives of corporations, they are doing service in cancer hospitals. They are driving people. I've seen a CEO of a company being on one day a week, he becomes a driver. I mean, can you imagine? I haven't seen any of our Muslim brothers do it. I haven't seen any of our younger people go become, volunteers. Now, I must correct myself. I don't say everybody, but I'm saying majority. And that's until unless you get that spirit, because that's the spirit of Islam. Get involved.
And that's the important part, is how do we bring out that spirit of Islam? How do we show the wonderful society we are in, this true spirit?